¿Veis cómo se ha planteado todo el escenario? O sea, noticias, prepara la estrategia de las noticias, busca el activo, hace análisis técnico, se prepara los días de trading. Estos días no voy a operar, estos días son peligrosos, se podría buscar esto, y el viernes voy a buscar esto. Me parece una organización muy buena, sinceramente. Oye, gente, para variar un poquito, vamos a alternar un poquito canal de economía, canal de trading, y es que tengo que decir que, como bien sabéis, teníamos a uno de los traders que creo que era de los que más había cobrado, no, que había hecho un trade de, recordar, os lo digo, era un trader que tenía, él estaba en 30 empresas de fondeo, alrededor de las 30 empresas de fondeo. Hizo un trade que le dio, creo que un solo trade le dio $800.000. Pero no era un trade en una empresa de fondeo. Repito, para que lo entendáis, porque por cierto, el vídeo lo dejaré por aquí arriba, si lo veis en diferido en el canal secundario, lo dejaré. Como tiene 30 empresas de fondeo, replicó pues igual en 20 ese trade. Y utiliza Smart Money. Y vamos a ver un vídeo de él. Vamos a verlo, son 20 minutos de vídeo. Vamos a intentar pasarlo para adelante. Y en ese trade, pues nada, le sacó $800.000 en varias empresas de fondeo. Lógicamente lo replicó en muchas, utiliza una herramienta de réplica local, lógicamente, porque tú imagínate ¿cómo puedes operar? ¿Tú cómo podrías operar 30 cuentas de fondeo a la vez? Es una locura. Entonces, yo me imagino que tendrá, digo yo, algún software, que tendrá 2 o 3 metatraders abiertos. Ese metatrader, digo yo que lo tendrá así, que es como yo lo haría. Tendrá un robot local que un metatrader pues conectará pues 5 o 6 empresas, otro metatrader 5 o 6, otro metatrader 5 o 6, ¿no? Y más o menos pues igual aplicará distintas estrategias. Lógicamente imaginaros que tiene una mala racha y revienta las 30 empresas, ¿no? Ahí sí que yo entiendo el tema de llevar estrategias diferentes. Pero bueno, es muy buen trader, de hecho ha cobrado de mucho dinero de muchas empresas, así que vamos a verlo, gente. No sé si recordáis, creo que era coreano, Jadecap FX es un canal con 28.600 suscriptores. Ya os recuerdo que ya habíamos visto su canal, que de hecho no sé por qué no estoy suscrito. Vimos un vídeo suyo, 100.000 en un solo trade. Bueno, ha hecho mucha pasta, ¿vale? Entonces, vamos a ver su vídeo que se trata How I Play My Trading Week, episodio 1. Es decir, cómo planea el trading de su semana. Me parece un vídeo excelente porque yo tengo mi método de hacer mi trading durante la semana. De hecho, he subido una historia este fin de semana en el perfil de Instagram y digo, ¿cómo yo hago los fines de semana? Los fines de semana me preparo mis gráficos en diario, semanal y mensual, y durante la semana solo espero que los precios lleguen a mis zonas. Y luego ya afino entradas en horario y día, ¿no? Y según si hay una noticia o no, porque yo no sé cuándo llegará el precio, hasta ahí no llego, pero sí que tengo mis zonas de oferta y demanda que son interesantes pues para comprar o vender. Yo tengo mi semana y miro las noticias y digo, bueno, seguramente pues igual el precio llegará este día, lo uno, lo otro, más o menos me lo preparo. Vamos a ver cómo se lo prepara Jadecap, que por cierto es un pedazo de trader, ya os lo digo, tiene 30 empresas de fondeo y le saca una pasta al mercado, así que creo que algo podremos aprender. De un tío con 30 empresas de fondeo. Digo yo, igual vale la pena escuchar lo que dice. Pero antes vamos a ponerlo los subtítulos porque habla en inglés. A ponerlo en traducir automáticamente, castellano, español, ¿no? Español de España. Y vamos con la velocidad. Vamos a poner un poquito rápido, que si no se nos hace muy largo. Vamos allá, ahora sí. Vamos allá.
Everyone, welcome to the series on weekly outlooks. I'm going to be walking you through a step-by-step process on how I analyze the markets and plan for my week. So, without further ado, let's dive into it. So, this is our outlook for March 17th.
Espera, que el comentario ha sido bueno. Con 30 empresas ya eres el dios de los purasangres. Hombre, ya eres un unicornio alado.
2024. So, why should we perform a weekly outlook? Well, first of all, trading is a highly competitive business and we need a business plan. I know a lot of you guys want to come into the markets and it very much seems like a casino where we can open up our trading account and analyze a market very quickly and place a bet in the market. But in reality, when you want to become a profitable trader, you have to have structure, you have to have a deep education or knowledge of the markets, and we need to plan ahead of time. So we're not just coming to the markets without a plan and taking random bets in the market. So having a weekly outlook and a weekly plan in place will allow us to be structured and really be organized when it comes to our time management, as well as understanding when the market might actually move. So this quote, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. And I think this is very important and something that you guys really should take into account when you are sitting down at the charts, right? A lot of our work as professional day traders is going to be in the preparation, and the execution is just a byproduct of all of that preparation that we're putting in ahead of time.
Hombre, de hecho lo que dice es así, la parte, o sea, ejecutar una entrada es comprar o vender. Todo lo que engloba alrededor de apretar uno de los dos botones, yo siempre lo digo, el trading es muy fácil. O sea, hacer una entrada es muy fácil, son 2 botones, tío. Comprar, vender, uno ganas, otro pierdes. Pero elegir el botón correcto es la clave de al final ganar dinero, ¿no? Entonces, para todo eso, primero tienes que tener una formación, una habilidad, una práctica y luego, sobre todo, mucha organización, ¿vale? Porque no puedes esperar... bueno, te levantarte hoy, voy a ver qué opero. No, tienes que tener bien preparado todo, ¿eh? Tienes que tener bien preparado todo.
You don't want to just sit down in front of the screens as soon as you wake up and take a trade, because those results will not likely be the results that you're looking for. So again, planning our week ahead of time allows us to be organized and structured with our trading. We know exactly when and how we should engage with the market. This is going to be, based on a couple things which we'll dive into over the next few slides. So my weekly outlook process, first of all, is going to start with analyzing the weekly calendar on Forex Factory. So if you guys just type in forexfactory.com,
yeah, Forex Factory,
we can add filters on different currencies. But for this presentation in particular, we are only going to focus on the dollar. Then we're going to perform a top-down analysis on those designated markets. So if you like trading a certain asset, you're going to focus on doing an in-depth analysis. I typically do mine Sunday night, so at this time of the recording, it's actually Saturday, but I'm going to release this video on Sunday. So usually when I sit down on Sunday, I will go through all the markets that I'm looking to trade for that specific week, analyze the calendar. That way I know exactly which markets I want to be active in and which days I want to be active. So we're going to plan each trading day, when and how to...
O sea, va con objetivos, o sea, mira noticias y apunta al activo que quiere analizar para estas... O sea, quiere operar esa semana.
Engage.
O sea,
and
trades de alta probabilidad.
So if our plan does not go according to plan, we are going to find ways that we can either change our bias or be flexible in our analysis. And that's something that is highly important. We don't want to just be in a situation where the market is not doing what we want it to do, and then we're not prepared for it. So if the market does something that we are not prepared for, we are going to make terrible decisions. So having all these
qué buen consejo, tío.
Allows you to anticipate, if the market does this, then I do this.
O sea, ¿habéis escuchado lo que acaba de decir? Que hay que estar preparado para todas las situaciones. Es decir, que no puede ser... O sea, tú lo esperas en un sitio, pero que tienes que estar preparado por si alcanza otras zonas, cómo tú vas a actuar. Porque si tú no estás preparado cuando alcance otras zonas que tú no tenías planteadas de un inicio, quizá... Me explico, me estoy explicando mal. Que tú tienes que tener... o sea, es decir, si el precio llega aquí, a la zona A, a la zona B, a la zona D... mi trade va a ser este y este. Es decir, y dependiendo de la noticia, o sea, tú tienes que tener ya trazado el plan. Lo que no puede ser que llegue el momento y sobre la marcha te plantees el trade. Eso es lo que está diciendo, que ya veis que lo tiene muy claro, apunta muy directo a dónde quiere operar.
So for the week of
adaptabilidad.
March 17, looking at the calendar right now, there isn't much news up until Wednesday afternoon. So Wednesday afternoon, and this is really going to come with experience, understanding when the market is going to possibly move or what driving factors is going to push the market a certain direction. So Monday we just have building permits, or sorry, Tuesday we just have building permits. Wednesday is really what the market's going to be waiting on. And when we're analyzing a calendar, we need to start thinking like an institutional trader or a bank or hedge fund, etc. Do you honestly think that a lot of these funds are going to position themselves in the market when they don't know what the Federal Reserve is going to do? Most likely not. Right now, the narrative, if you guys haven't been paying attention, is the Fed going to cut rates, or is the Fed going to keep rates the same, right? And this is something that we really need to pay attention to because it's going to affect the dollar, it's going to affect all markets just on a global scale. So understanding that this upcoming news event is going to be taking place on the 20th next week, this is a sign that we need to be patient when we're entering our positions, because a lot of these funds are not going to be trying to front run the news. And, maybe they have information that you don't. Most of us as retail traders, we don't know what they're going to do. So why do we want to try and front run the news and just pretty much take a wild guess on what the Fed might do? This is going to be a major driving factor on which direction the markets might go for the rest of Q1 into Q2. Okay, so this is a very big news event. And when there's something like this that's taking place on Wednesday, we need to be mindful that a lot of the time, Mondays and Tuesdays will just be chopping. So we want to just really be patient, sitting on our hands, waiting for the narrative to come out on what the Fed is going to do, and then react to price action. We don't want to anticipate, we want to react. So once we understand when the market's going to move, we can wait a little bit after the press conference to possibly find positions. I might just wait until Thursday, to be honest, unless there's really something that appears in the PM session in the futures markets. Otherwise, I typically don't like trading late in the afternoon after FOMC, unless there's a really decent setup that appears around 3 or 4 p.m. Eastern. But then it's really only a very short-term trade because I don't like holding overnight. So Thursday might be our continuation.
Es interesante lo que acaba de decir, que no le gusta operar por la tarde después de las noticias. Ya que hablamos del Nasdaq, hoy el sistema tecnológico registró una falla. No ingresaban las órdenes de Amazon y Nvidia por un lapso de 3 horas y por ello no se medía en el índice la tasa del día esas acciones, y según informaron de WS ya es la segunda vez en 3 meses. Hostia, buen dato, gracias Diego. Buen dato.
As you can see, we also have a few high impact news events coming out during New York session. So we have 8:30 a.m. unemployment claims and 9:45 a.m. flash servicing PMI. So this could be a very choppy week, just based on my initial view of this calendar. And we'll dive into the charts, but let's just say if Thursday is really going to be my only day trading, I'm going to wait until some of these news events are out of the way. Because going into 9:45, usually when there's 2 high impact news events, I will try and wait for the second one. I'll try and wait for either the second one to get out of the way. So 8:30 a.m. might be our manipulation. So a lot of times when we have 2 high impact news events, the first one will be the false move, and then the second one will actually carry us in the direction of the longer term trend. And that's just something that I've studied for years and years, and lost a lot of money.
O sea, buen dato, ¿La habéis escuchado? O sea, cuando hay 2 noticias importantes seguidas, la primera, dice que ha estudiado muchos años esto, la primera suele ser la manipulación y la segunda la del precio. Buen dato, de alguien, no es un Mindundi, no es un Mindundi.
In the live markets, and it's something that you guys can test going forward as well. If there's 2 high impact news events, what is going to happen on that specific day? And by the end of Thursday, you should know exactly what happened. Was this 8:30 a.m. news event a false move, and then did 9:45, 10 a.m. actually carry us in the direction of the real direction on the dollar, or real trend on the dollar? And then Friday at 9 a.m., we actually might have possible TGIF setup or a continuation. So on FOMC weeks, again, this comes from experience. A lot of times we'll have a consolidation, midweek rally or decline, and that's just based on the ICT weekly templates. And if you guys are watching this, just know that I'm an ICT trader. I am not saying that this is the only way to trade. If you are trading any other strategy, this is still applicable to you. You can still use this process, and I'm just showing you guys how I plan for my week ahead of time, and I'm not just coming into the markets and just randomly clicking buttons. Okay, so either Friday we're going to expect a TGIF setup, and that's only if the dollar will reach a high time frame array or high time frame level, expecting a retracement back into the range. If we haven't reached a high time frame level, I'm going to expect continuation. All right, so here we are on the dollar index chart on the weekly time frame. We are only going to be covering the dollar because I only included the dollar news on the Forex Factory calendar that we just reviewed. So you can pretty much apply the same.
La primera fase lo que ha hecho, analizar las noticias y más o menos tener un planteamiento de cuando ocurren, cómo podría actuar o lo que espera a raíz de las noticias. Cosa importante, buen planteamiento, buena forma de plantearlo. Uy, un momentito, perdón. Disculpar, voy a poner un poquito más rápido que si no se hace muy largo el vídeo.
Steps and processes to all the markets that you're trading. If you're trading stocks, make sure you're going to sit down, go over the longer term time frames. If you're trading whatever market it is, I'm still going to follow the same process as I do on this specific chart. My benchmark pretty much is the dollar index. So if I know what the dollar's going to do, a lot of the times I know if we're going to be in a risk on or risk off scenario. All right, so starting on the weekly chart, I'm going to just mark out the obvious weekly dealing range. Now, this is just based on a Fibonacci levels. So we have our swing high up here, and then we have our swing low down here. So this is our buy side liquidity, sell side liquidity, and then we have 50% of that, which is our equilibrium level. And right now, I'm just noticing that we're in a discount, right? But overall, we've been in pretty much a consolidation. So, all this range right here is a much larger consolidation, right, since the beginning of 2023, essentially. But currently, right, from this high to this low, we are in a discount. Then I'm going to mark out my obvious fair value gaps. So here we have our inverted fair value gap, where we had a sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency. We traded above it, came back to it, and as you can see, we have respected it so far. All right, we've traded away from that level. We have inverted this fair value gap as well, which we just retested last week and the week before. And we have this sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency. So those are just my obvious fair value gaps. There are more that I can plot in here. There's actually one from last week's close to this week's low, but it's just a very small one. And I'm leaning bullish on the dollar, so I actually don't want to see any possible level to respect there. I actually prefer if we trade lower off the weekly open into Wednesday and then trade higher, just because we are in a discount. So I'm going to mark my intermediate term highs and lows in here. So inside of this dealing range, we actually have another dealing range, right? And if I wanted to, I could plot another Fibonacci in here. And based on that swing high to the swing low, we are still in a discount, right? So inside of that Fibonacci range, inside of that larger dealing range, we have a smaller dealing range here. But I typically will not have too many levels on my charts because I kind of keep them clean. So that's it for the weekly chart. These are just the most important levels that I'm looking at. I'm bullish on the dollar just based on what I'm looking at here, just based on the fact that we are in a discount. We've inverted this fair value gap in here. And if the dollar is going to be bullish, we actually don't want to see them cut rates. All right. So if the dollar is going to remain bullish based on, last week's movement, we don't want to see the Fed cut rates during this meeting. So if they keep the rates the same, it should give the dollar a lift going into the rest of Q1, Q2. So let's dive into the daily chart. We have this volume imbalance actually that we've respected for quite a few days. That's something that I've been looking at. And we also ran out this consolidation in here. So we have this volume imbalance, right? Or gap in price. And then we have this consolidation that we've ran out. So all the traders that were in here that had their, orders, their sell stops in there have been ran out of the market. And we've seen a response away from this volume imbalance as well as running out that consolidation. There are additional volume imbalances in here. So if we zoom in, you can actually see that this volume imbalance was created and now we're trading above this volume imbalance. So I'm going to paint some daily fair value gaps as well. So we have this inverted fair value gap. Right? This is our sell side imbalance that we inverted. And then we're trading into another sell side imbalance. And we also have this daily volume imbalance in here as well. So I marked out all those levels. These are my most important daily levels because I'm really only focusing on the last 20 days. Price action, I'm not really concerned with anything else. Yes, we did bounce from this volume imbalance. There's also one in here as well. But, I'm just looking at current price action. Because we're not trading down here, I don't really care about anything that's down here. Unless we start rolling over. Then I'll start looking at some of these levels down in here. But because we've rejected away from it, I'm really only concerned with, maybe this low, anything that's in here, this buy side imbalance that's in here, and then this inverted fair value gap as well as this sell side imbalance. So with that being said, let's hop into the 1 hour. So this is all of our top-down analysis. You can see I have my day markers plotted in here, just so I can see the price action on any given day. So we're going to mark out some 1 hour market structure. You can see that on Wednesday, we took out Tuesday's low and reversed away from that level. So Thursday really provided some strength to the dollar. Now, this is the bias that I'm going to keep going forward. So just based on, the current price action, what I would want to see, well, actually, we'll talk about the plan after we mark up the charts. So we have our 1 hour dealing range. So if I make this invisible for now, I'm plotting, again, another dealing range from this low down in here, from this low to this high. And we have our 50%. And you'll notice, any ICT traders out there, you'll notice, if we're looking for a Fibonacci retracement, a lot of times we're going to have fair value gaps that are resting below discount or above premium. So if we're bullish, we want to see these buy side imbalances in discount because a lot of times these are being engineered for price later at a later date to come in, fill that level, and then trade higher. All right, so I'm marking that 1 hour fair value gap because it's in a discount. See, this one is pretty much resting at equilibrium. I prefer...
¿Sabéis a mí lo que no me gusta a mí de bajar en temporalidades ya por debajo de 4 horas? Los fair value gaps, todas estas zonas, hay tantas zonas. Yo últimamente estoy puliendo mucho mi metodología en el cual intento descartar bajar la temporalidad, pero claro, este hombre está en temporalidad de 1 hora, ¿vale? Aquí hay fair value gaps, vale, perfecto, hay fair value gaps, pero vas a tener en cuenta solo este fair value gap porque igual en 4H hay otro o en 30M hay otro. ¿Cuál escoges, no? Entonces yo, ahora mismo, lo que estoy haciendo con mi metodología, tengo muchísimo en cuenta altos y bajos de días anteriores, no solo a nivel de buy side, sino a nivel de rompimientos y zonas de entrada. De esta forma, filtro todo el ruido de todas estas dudas que yo tengo en cuanto en qué temporalidad voy a tener yo en cuenta a la hora de analizar, ¿no? Y es una de las formas que estoy haciendo yo últimamente, que me está funcionando muy bien, tengo que decirlo. Sí que es verdad que quizá te ofrece menos ratios, menos márgenes tan buenos, pero son análisis no solo más acertados, sino mucho más objetivos. No tengo la duda de dónde voy a entrar. No sé si lo transmito, ¿vale? No digo que esté mal, ¿eh? No digo que esté mal y cada uno tendrá su técnica y su estrategia. Yo estoy hablando lo que estoy yo ahora mismo puliendo en mi sistema. Hay tantas que no se sabe cuál se usa, eso es cierto. De esa forma lo sigues manteniendo de forma objetiva, Paul. Sí, porque claro, el alto, el bajo de un día, solo hay uno. Solo hay un alto y un bajo de un día. Solo hay uno. O sea, el día anterior hubo un bajo y un alto, ¿vale? Es decir, si por ejemplo, el alto, en este gráfico que veis aquí, el alto del día anterior, hay dos altos, este y este. Yo siempre voy a tirar a la mínima, que es la zona que él está marcando de Fair Value Gap, precisamente una zona de descuento. Pues ese alto sería mi punto de entrada. Y así no tengo dudas, si el Fair Value, si el Order Block, si el... Tendría que decir si el Order Block decisional, el extremo, el Fair Value, el 70%, no tengo dudas. Entonces, sí que es verdad que igual podría apurar zonas, pero ya no busco el RB, sino busco el bias correcto, el sesgo correcto. Por eso hice yo las dos últimas clases de mercados eficientes e ineficientes, para reconocer el sesgo correcto. Busco la dirección correcta, el win rate. Estoy tirando más hacia el win rate y luego sí puedo intentar pulir más, lógicamente, el RB. Pero ahí ya se complica mucho la cosa.
If the market did trade down into this gap. So plan one, this is what I'm expecting in the dollar index. So I am leaning bullish based on price action violating the sell side imbalance and displacing from the volume imbalance. So, if you wanted to rewind this presentation, you can see that we had an inverted fair value gap and we're displacing from that daily volume imbalance. We're also above another volume imbalance. So just based on the price action that we saw last Thursday, I'm expecting somewhat of a retracement into that bullish range and then another expansion higher. But again, we have FOMC, which is going to be quite volatile. I'm not going to try and anticipate what the Fed's going to do. I'm going to just try and react. And I have a game plan in mind. If I see what I would like to see, then I'm going to try and engage. And if I don't, then we'll have contingencies. So price action likely to chop, consolidate early in the week, like we just spoke about, while the markets wait for the Fed decision. So Monday and Tuesday are my non-trading days. Those days I'm just going to spend on working on my edge, journaling maybe, planning for the week ahead, doing other things for other businesses, etc. Those are pretty much days that I don't want to be trading. I don't even want to look at the charts. Wednesday, we're going to wait for post-FOMC price action to determine if the dollar will support.
Lunes, martes, qué curioso, que lunes, martes no va a mirar ni los gráficos. Porque las noticias gordas vienen miércoles, jueves. Y el viernes, weekly retracement into the range if we reach high time frame premium. Que buscará los TGIF. Que no es TGIF. Ending week mitigation OSOC. Es mía. Es mía. No me voy a cansar de decirlo. Es mía esa estrategia.
For my bias.
Bueno, o sea, ¿veis cómo se ha planteado todo el escenario? Noticias, prepara la estrategia de las noticias, busca el activo, hace análisis técnico, se prepara los días de trading. Estos días no voy a operar, estos días son peligrosos, se podría buscar esto, y el viernes voy a buscar esto. Me parece una organización muy buena, sinceramente.
So Thursday, if Wednesday pans out how I would expect it to, Thursday, I'm going to expect continuation of the post-FOMC move. All right, and then Friday, either retracement into the range if we reach a high time frame
premium. Creo que un buen trader
didn't type it in here, but
esto es lo que
if
tiene
we
que
don't
hacer.
reach a high time frame premium, then expect continuation. So plan 2, this is our contingency plan. If my bullish thesis does not pan out, I will look for a change in order flow on the higher time frame that would support the high time frame bearishness in the dollar. So just to recap and show you guys on screen what my plan would be. So as I mentioned, I'm expecting bullishness in the dollar. We're currently at this daily sell side imbalance with this red shaded area, but we also have these inverted fair value gaps in here noted in blue. Okay, so you can see that the bears and the bulls might be fighting each other inside of these two levels. Okay, so my thesis is Monday and Tuesday we could likely chop around. Wednesday might drop into this 1 hour fair value gap, and then I'm expecting bullish price action to take us away from that level again. If I don't get that, what I would be looking for as a contingency is, let's just hop back into a daily chart. My contingency is if we don't get that move, and this is just on a daily time frame, this is very much the same plan, right? Based on that higher time frame, this is what I'm looking for. This is the 1 hour fair value gap in here, this inverted fair value gap. I want to see it trade down in here. So we have a lot of bullish PD arrays that line up with that thesis, right? We have this inverted fair value gap, we have this bullish buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency, we have this order block, then we have weekly inverted fair value as well. And we still have this one balance that's protecting us below here. So there's a lot of reason for me to think that we want to support price and then trade higher. My contingency is if we don't get that, then I'm going to look for a possible inversion of this buy side imbalance. Okay, so we have this buy side imbalance. My contingency is if we trade through that and retest it, then we're going to possibly go lower, and then I'm going to possibly target this intermediate term low. Okay, so that's essentially my contingency. If I do not see the bullishness in the dollar, then I'm going to do this. So, you know, going back to how I'm structuring my week is very algorithmic. If this, then that. I'm not trying to, you know, predict or analyze too much into the future. I have a solid game plan going into the week, and I'm
qué bueno
if I actually follow that game plan.
Lo que acaba de decir, no está intentando predecir el futuro, sino planificar la semana según lo que podría ocurrir. Y tiene sus planes. Muy buen vídeo.
And I do this day to day on an intraday basis, but when you're first getting into analyzing the markets, you want to learn how to put together a solid game plan. And this is the whole point of this series, is I'm showing you guys how I'm putting my game plan together. If I don't follow that game plan, then it's a bad week. Or maybe I made a couple mistakes here and there. I'm going to take points off on how I operated in the market. Because if you guys are not holding yourself accountable when you have a game plan, say if you have a game plan and you completely ignore everything that you plan for, well, you're not going to make any improvements in your trading because you're not following what you said you're going to do, right? And it's the same thing with risk management, whatever the case is. Even your study timeline, if you say you're going to study X amount of hours a week and you're not doing it, well, obviously you're not doing the work that you should be doing. So you're not going to see the results that you want to see. And it's the same thing when it comes to this weekly prep video, these weekly outlooks that I'm going to put out over the next couple weeks. Really take note of how I'm structuring my week and how I'm going to operate in the markets. It's very structured. There's nothing surprising about it. I'm never surprised by markets. I just have contingency in place. If the market does not cooperate with my contingency, then I have to be flexible, right? So, and that's the whole reason of creating a contingency plan.
Me ha gustado mucho. ¿Qué os parece el vídeo, gente?
Well, what happens if plan one doesn't go according to plan? Then you don't have a plan, right? So you have to be able to plan plan B, right? Maybe even C. So with that being said, that was pretty much how I run down my weekly outlook. I hope you guys found this insightful, and I'll see you guys next week.
Muy buen vídeo. Fantástico. Pues el chaval se llama, que me lo ha preguntado por aquí, no sé quién ha sido, JadeCapFX. De todas formas, yo siempre en el canal secundario, el vídeo que vemos lo pongo en vídeos relacionados y en etiquetas, para que lo podáis seguir el canal y si lo queréis ver. Me ha parecido fantástico. Uy, me olvido el like. Me ha parecido fantástico. Muy buena forma de enseñar a planificar la semana. De hecho, no os quepa ninguna duda, esta es la auténtica diferencia entre ser un pony y un pura sangre. La planificación y la organización de las operaciones. Si tú vas sobre la marcha, eres un maldito pony. Así que olvídate de ser ganador. Serás un pony. Si tú lo tienes todo planeado, lo que podría pasar, los días de volatilidad, las zonas, que tienes fijado los activos, no vas a todo, no le tiras a todo lo que se mueve, entonces serás caballo ganador. La diferencia entre un pony y un caballo ganador. Así que, gente, muy buen vídeo. Canal de JadeCapFX. Seguidle, darle a Wesson, por cierto. Pero si me he suscrito, ¿por qué no me deja? Me he suscrito antes. Muy buen vídeo. Espero que os haya gustado. Like y vamos con el siguiente vídeo.
Quiero ser un pony, no más de prados y pastizales. Quiero ser un caballo de pura sangre y elegante, correr sin límites en el mundo financiero, invertir en trading, ganando dinero verdadero, te pone a caballo.